You know, sometimes I feel like Napoleon, not necessarily in the sense that I'm a short guy and I want to conquer all of Europe, which was probably just to compensate for having a small wiener, but more in the sense that Napoleon wrote to his wife to not bathe for 3 weeks because he assumed she was most likely getting her tuna pounded. And that's just very interesting, because if you're in that relationship, then you must know that this relationship is already bad enough if you have to tell your wife not to take a bath. Oh, I can smell it from there! You've been with another man, you cretin! It's just very odd to me. This is kind of my relationship with a lot of really bad shows, though, because I have a strange inkling, a strange feeling that Napoleon probably liked it. He was like, oh, you were with another guy. The anticipation was killing me. I just had to make sure that you didn't bathe. He wanted her to be stinky. And that's sometimes how I want these shows to be, because the more stinky they are, the worse that they smell. The more times that shows like this haven't taken a shower, the more funny I could be, the more I could roast them. And it's overall a fun time to rant about them. So I was checking out the show Duncanville, which was suggested to me quite a lot, and it's safe to say that the show has in fact taken a shower, which is also a pleasant surprise. You know, I could be over here, I could be over there. This show was actually pretty decent, or at least the first episode I watched was. Taking a look at one of the best episodes in the series, it's going to be the episode Throw Mama from the Brain. And this is a lot more of a down-to-earth show, which I enjoy, especially because this show comes from the elegant, illustrious Fox. And you know, Fox just likes to be, you know who else really likes taking a shit and doing really awful sitcoms? My mom! They just like doing really bad sitcoms repeatedly over and over and over again. If it's not The Simpsons, if it's not Futurama, if it's not Family Guy, they get no time to shine, usually canceled within 3 seasons, and they're just forgotten, lost to the ages. And in this case, this show was also abandoned after 3 seasons, but I actually think it's good, which is a little bit weird that they just throw away something that is clearly working that actually got me to laugh. The beginning of it is decent, and yes, it's down to earth. We just have Jack Harris sleeping in bed, just minding his own business, and he just hears, yeah, that's my best impression of a raccoon digging through the garbage. He gets up and starts screaming about gremlins, runs outside, and the raccoons just start brutally roasting the man.
That's not what I sound like.
Which again, I found to be decently funny. The next day, we just keep rambling on with the jokes because we get one of the most relatable things ever. What do you do when there's a bunch of snow in your yard? What do you do when there's something that is just so immaculate and huge in your yard that you don't want to pick it up? You don't want to put it in the trash. You just kick it 2 feet out into the road. It's the city's problem now! Yeah, that made me laugh. I don't know. Sue me. It's simplistic, it doesn't have to do a whole lot, but it's just a funny joke to watch a grown man kick a little, trash into the street and say that it's all the city's problem now and not want to deal with it. I actually enjoyed that joke quite a lot. So, we then see this woman get into a cab, and she has a much nicer house than them, so they decide that they're going to use her backyard as their own deck, their own pool, their own little time to shine. And at the same time, it's just a random throwaway joke. It honestly feels like it should, in a way, be a cutaway. Like, I was half expecting, remember the time that you liked Family Guy? Remember the time that there was a penguin who had his nutsack caught in a bush and was also a porch pirate? Yeah, I was half expecting that, but they just are all like, you know, porch pirates are really dangerous, as this man is delivering a package, and then it just cuts to, I don't know, Captain Fentanyl sitting in the bush like, oh, shucks, we're not gonna be able to get the package, they already have it.
Hate that. Arr, the back of the house. The day is lost, boys.
And again, I laughed because I was really expecting this to be where the show lost me and they were going to do an awful cutaway. Again, like something like, oh man, remember the time when Jim Carrey lactated all over my porch pirate? I was really expecting something awful like that, but it was just a casual joke. It actually fit into the episode. They didn't need to cut away to anything, and it made me laugh. It made me laugh a lot. And I just wonder, there's actual people in life who will sit outside of homes and just wait for packages, like, for hours. They'll just sit there, watch an Amazon truck, and then sprint up to steal the package. And you have to wonder, if you could sit outside of somebody's house and wait for a package, and that package potentially just has, I don't know, their order of corn-filled feces, like, why don't you just go and get a job? You just sit at a cashier stand all day and do the same thing and make a more consistent amount of money. I don't know, just food for thought nonetheless. So they're eventually all just doing silly backyard shenanigans, you know, becoming deck people, enjoying their time, and we get this one scene that is very odd. I don't know, if my mom was ever to say this to me in front of anybody, I would probably grab her by the cranium and just throw her into the sun, just talking to me like, oh, I remember the time that you were in the pool. There were fishes everywhere, and you lost your swim trunks, and all the fishes were just gaping up like, bald, oh, it's a snake, run, as he got naked in the pool.
Trunks were too big, so they came right off, and there it was. Your itty-bitty, teeny-weeny
Yeah, I wouldn't really like anybody to tell that story to anybody, but that is the struggle that Duncan is going through when Annie, his mother, is telling stories of his past, and that sets up the next scene quite well. Before we get to that, initially, Duncan, he's just basically doing like what a Redditor would do anytime he gets a compliment. He's sitting by the fire, and a girl that he's quite interested in says, oh yeah, you look like Willem Dafoe when you're next to the fire, baby. Oh, I would nuzzle up against you if you looked like that all the time. So, you know, Duncan, hearing praise from a woman for the first time in his life, he goes inside and lights a fire inside of his room to just be lit by the fire and, of course, carbon monoxide poisoning. And this just genuinely made me think that there are genuinely guys who will get one compliment about something and make it their entire lifestyle. Like, I can imagine like a 450-pound Redditor or Discord mod getting complimented on his fedora one time, and it was clearly ironic, and then they start walking around like, oh, hello. Yet, my kitten actually really likes my fedora. She's my princess. I'm gonna wear my fedora everywhere. I need to walk the catwalk in Paris with my fedora. As he's sweating profusely and slowly begins to have a heart attack because he hasn't stood up out of his chair in the past 6 months because he's been texting his 3 Discord kittens. That's just what I typically imagine from somebody like Duncan getting a compliment. So he almost dies, and he decides he's gonna go back outside of the house and tell them that he just, you know, poured smoke all over the house. There's smoke everywhere. And so, as he's walking outside, he has to face one of the scariest things ever that I can only honestly compare to, I don't know, something as horrible as the entire United States government, all the politicians being pedophiles and everybody being okay with it. But what kind of world would that be? I couldn't imagine anything like that. Hot dog. That would be something, wouldn't it? Hot dog. So he's walking out there, and all of a sudden his mother, not realizing that it's Duncan approaching, says, take me to the deep end, Daddy, because she was waiting for her husband to appear out of a bush, and Duncan walks out and sees all of his mother's goods.
Take me to the deep end, Daddy.
And yeah, that's one of the most mentally scarring things you could ever see. I can't even fathom not only having to see all of it, but then also having to hear, take me to the deep end, Daddy. I know Sigmund Freud is rolling in his grave somewhere like, yes, it's so natural to want to be with your mother, brother. Roll over and take her, have fun with her. Oh yeah, I'm Sigmund Freud. It's just very apparent that everybody wants to do the nasty with their mom. It's not weird at all for me to say that. I clearly am just a incestual fucking freak. Yeah, man, I can't believe that people still teach about Sigmund Freud. Isn't that weird that it's like commonplace if you ever take a psychology class to learn about Sigmund Freud? Like, this guy was clearly just a baffling, bubbling buffoon, a knuckle-dragging Neanderthal who just wanted to do dirty things with his mom, and yet we decide, yes, this man was quite inquisitive. We need to teach all the children about his philosophies, his vision about doing things with his own mother. Like, it's just so fucking weird. Like, there's certain things that it's okay to move on from. At least that's what I think. His dad comes out of the bush and he's also naked, so Duncan is just purely scarred. And this is really where the show got very funny for me, where Duncan goes inside and he just sees a bunch of different things that remind him of his naked mom, and he's just suffering through all of that.
Laundry day. My delicates are in the wash.
It's really hilarious. I'm glad I'm watching this show and not something like Big Mouth, because Big Mouth would probably turn it into something like,
"Oh, honey, I know you saw me naked, but it's okay. It's all part of life. There's only one thing that can redeem this. I need to see you naked."
and then all the Big Mouth animators would sit there and be all like, "Yay, I get to draw another child in the nude. Oh my god, I love my job. I'm so happy. I'm so happy. Oh, child pornography." Yeah, that's what I imagine every single day at a Big Mouth animating session was like. They just start singing a song about how happy they are to be working on this. So Duncan is still having a really tough time, and we just get a lot of jokes that are in relation to that, where he's trying to sneak out of the house because he doesn't want to run into his mom, and he's like using a bunch of towels, and he ends up like flinging himself through the downstairs window and just ends up in front of his mom as he runs away and sprints away. And then he's out getting food with his friends, and he's like, "Oh god, I don't think I'll be able to talk to my mom until I go to college. Oh god, I'm gonna have to go to college to get away from her breasts." Like, it's pretty funny. It's a really down-to-earth show, but sometimes that's all you need. Sometimes you don't need the craziest plot lines and the stupidest shock value humor jokes. Sometimes you just need fun. And I feel like with all of the sitcoms that Fox likes to make, they sometimes forget that it's mainly supposed to be about the family, and the family's supposed to be enjoyable. Sometimes, just throwing it out here, you don't need a talking animal, young baby, or whatever that is just a heinous adult in baby form and is just super annoying. Because guess what? They have a toddler in the family in the show. They have a young character in the show named Jing, and she's hilarious. She adds to every single scene, and she's funny, and she just plays that little kid role in such a good way without the needing fact of like, "Oh, I'm Stewie Griffin. I hate my mom. I want to kill Lewis, and I want to, I don't know, have sex with my teddy bear." It's just sometimes you just need a kid to be a kid, and it could add a good insight into like a childlike wonder into certain jokes in an adult comedy. I think it's funny. So they're doing all of that, and at the same time, what's his face? Jack, the dad, he is really enjoying the deck, so we get Wiz Khalifa showing up and singing a song about big deck energy. Yeah, that was kind of cringe, but hey, it added to the episode, and we got a fun little dance out of it, so he's just having a deck party and really enjoying himself. Duncan eventually has to go and cure his memory of seeing his mom in the naked vernacular, so he goes and gets this like game where it deletes all his memories, but it ends up erasing every fond memory, so he has to find a brand new way to, create new memories with his mom, and the only way to do that is to take a peek behind the shower curtain and see her naked once again.
What?
Which restores all his bad memories, but ultimately strengthens their relationship, and everything is good by the end of the episode. I ultimately thought this was really fun. There wasn't a whole lot to it, like there wasn't anything crazy going on, but that's kind of what I want out of a sitcom show. If I'm watching something like Family Guy, I guess I'm expecting it to be wonky. But what I loved about like classic Simpsons, like when Simpsons was actually good in the first like 5 seasons, was that it was just a casual, fun sitcom that felt like I really enjoyed watching and connecting with the family. And here, I feel like I could do the same thing. The characters are interesting, their relationships are interesting, they're fun, nobody is necessarily extremely mean-spirited. It is just a fun family to watch, and I feel like that's what a sitcom sometimes needs to be. So overall, if I was to rate this episode 1 to 10, I would probably give this episode a solid 8 out of 10. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Now taking a look at one of the worst episodes in the series, one of the lowest rated, it's gonna be the episode Moneyballs. And it's always so weird with Fox, because believe it or not, I actually like this episode, but I feel like the reason that I never heard about it is because anybody who's actually a fan of Fox shows was just too busy, I don't know, writing their Peter Griffin, Joe Swanson fan fiction. "Hey Peter, you need me to put my mouth on it?" You know, just doing stuff like that. And so you never hear about anything other than Family Guy or The Simpsons, and when there's actual good shows, they just get thrown under the rug. Now, I'm not going to say that this is their magnum opus, that this is the best thing I've ever seen, but it wasn't that bad, and it did make me laugh a couple of times. The one issue that I could see with this episode is that it's all over the place. They're juggling a lot of different plot lines, like Jack struggling with his father, Duncan wanting to be the man of the house. Just a lot of different things are going on within this episode that aren't the most entertaining, but it's okay. I like the beginning of the episode where Jack, he's very excited to go see his father because he believes that tonight is the night because his father's dementia's clinging in, that he could finally get the hug of love, the wondrous approval from his decrepit dick of a father, and his name is Dick, so that is, for the monetization police, his name is Dick! You can't stop me because it's a name! Anywho. Yeah, so he wants the love of his father. He wants it really bad. And I really like the daughter again. Her name is, Jing, once again. And she walks up and she just taps his hand and just like, oh, you poor soul, daddy. He ain't gonna love you.
Disapproves of me. This could be the big hug love you son year.
You poor, sweet, hopeful daddy.
Yeah, I think she's really funny. It's kind of, like, wild how much I prefer just a normal little kid toddler for comedy over a drug-dealing baby. I think it's a lot more entertaining. So they eventually go to dinner. And the dad is just a very bad person right off the bat. He gives given a watch and he's immediately like, oh, well, thank you so much. He calls him with the watch. Oh, shit, it's a phone. It's not a watch. I'm a buffoon. He calls him and he's like, did you get a gift receipt with that? He's just not a very nice guy. He looks at the waitress and he's like, I know what I'm eating tonight. And just gives it a big old smack on her voluptuous dumpy.
I see what I want. Everyone's so touchy these days.
And yeah, so he's just not a very good guy. It's a little bit of a problem. And so he goes home with them and just starts roasting their way of living, which leads to Duncan feeling like he has to get a job to get away from all this. So he goes to get a job. His dad follows him to the store and shows his father around and makes him look like a buffoon, which just awakens something deep inside of Duncan to just start acting like the Omega asshole. He is now the man of the house. He pays for the Mandalorian. He pays for Baby Yoda. Yeah, you could definitely tell what time this was coming out at. There was probably nothing. This was definitely during COVID when people were only clinging on to things like Baby Yoda! It's thrilling! Oh, it's just like old Star Wars. You remember old Star Wars? It was beautiful. Yeah, you could clearly tell that that's like the only thing they were clinging on. I think at animation at this time, I think like 90% of shows would just mention the Mandalorian and act like it was a godsend because it was all people had at the time. And so he's saying he's going to take away streaming, he's going to take Mandalorian because Duncan is paying for it. So they start arguing. It's really weird because then they start watching a Guy Fieri show, and I don't know if the creators are on the, like, hate wagon of Guy Fieri. I know a lot of people hate Guy Fieri. I watched a video because I initially hated Guy Fieri, but it actually claims that he seems to be a pretty good guy. I mean, yes, he has ramen noodles coming out of his head, like that he just sticks in there, like just stale, dry ramen noodles, and he's just like, I'm gonna take you to Flavor Town. This tastes good. It's coated and deep fried in fucking butter. You know, but I mean, I've heard he's actually a decent person and everybody just hates him for, like, non-valid reasons. I don't know. I don't really care. But they decided to make him a dumpster diving show in which he goes around, and his first scene wasn't very good, where he digs into the trash for some pudding full of meds, and I'm pretty sure he just ate some lovely feces with, I don't know, Vicodin in it.
Meds in the pudding! Oh, holy moly, stromboli coli!
That's great. Cool. Wonderful Guy Fieri stuff. So, Jack and Duncan, they start arguing even more, and this eventually leads to a big brawl on the roof, and they have to call Jack's dad to try and come and stop all of this, and he gets on the lawn and he's like, I can't go up there. I'm too senile. I don't know what to do. You think I could go up there? Talk to my son like he's a human being? You gotta make me angry first. I have to be able to mentally and verbally abuse him. It's the only way I can do it. So they start telling him a bunch of things that makes him angry, like everyone should be allowed to vote. I half expected, I guess it's just not the time frame, but I half expected them to be like, the Epstein list doesn't matter. It clearly doesn't matter, you know, you shouldn't care about the pedophiles in the government. It doesn't affect me. You know, them touching and eating babies. And I thought that's what was going to be the trigger to make him so angry. Oh, I'm over the age of 65. That means I don't care about people who are older than me touching children. Ah! But he goes up there, he's very angry, and him being angry leads to him having a heartfelt moment with his son, and they all plummet through the roof and relearn a loving, valued family values. I don't fucking know. They all love each other again, and then we get to watch Guy Fieri once again slurp up dirty, stinky, poopy toilet paper.
Look at the size of this receipt.
Which was not something that was on my bucket list as something I wanted to see in this life, but I'm not gonna complain. I mean, hey, I could say I've seen Guy Fieri do it, so it can't possibly be that bad. This episode was definitely just okay. It's not anywhere near as good as the first episode that I watched, but it was okay. It wasn't the worst thing that I've ever seen. The Guy Fieri shock humor definitely wasn't the best, but there were some good jokes thrown in there. There was one joke that I didn't even mention, where Duncan and his friend, when he's working at the store, instead of like talking about how they could eventually buy beer, they could like buy it from an off-brand black market now because he has a job, like, you know, like young teens would say, they just sit there going, I can buy you a beer. And then they just look up into the sky someday. That is not the whimsical way that I view drinking as a youngin'. I didn't stare off into the sunset like, I can't wait to go to a bar someday. But yeah, I liked it. So it does have some good jokes. It's just kind of all over the place with the plot. Jack's dad, the grandpa, he's a very awful character, but I guess he works in some scenes. It's just kind of okay. If I was to rate it 1 through 10, I would probably give it a solid 5 out of 10. Nothing too bad about it, nothing too amazing about it, just pretty average, at least to me. Now taking a look at a random episode of Duncanville, it's going to be the episode Redhead Redemption. And in all honesty, what do you really want when you're watching a sitcom? You want some likable characters, some decent enough comedy, something to take the edge off when you get off from work, just a nice, calm show, right? I feel like that's what Duncanville does. With their, like, I don't know, 27th sitcom that Fox has made, it's really hard for them to hit it out of the park, but I really enjoyed every single episode that I've watched thus far. I feel like that just comes down to the characters actually being enjoyable to watch. Does the show look like shit like every single other adult animation ever? Yes, of course it does. Of course it can't look good, but hey, at least I like the characters. That's what matters. The episode opens with Annie, the mom, getting stuck underneath a guillotine, not in a guillotine, but underneath it of all things, while everybody's just meandering their own business within the house. Kimberly, the daughter that I haven't mentioned yet, she is dancing with one of Duncan's friends, but a fake version of it. It's a basketball attached to a broomstick, and I can't imagine having this level of down badness, this level of fantasy, to be dancing around with a fake material, being all like, oh, of course you could dip me. Thank you for asking for consent.
Of course you can dip me. Thanks for getting my consent.
I don't think this inanimate object really has consent from you. Like, theoretically, can a basketball, if you're going to do something nasty with it, tell you that it wants it? I guess that's really up to you. I mean, who's gonna care? There's a guy on My Strange Addictions who has sex with a car and nobody stops him, so I guess it's okay that Kimberly is consensually getting dipped by a basketball. Either way, a little bit freaky. So eventually Duncan, he's playing this game, and he has to help his dad to get the guillotine off the mom, so Kimberly has to take over in the game, and she absolutely destroys in it. She's way better than him. She's an absolute massacre-ist. That's not a word, I don't give a shit. She does great in it, which makes Duncan feel inferior. At the same time, Annie, after being crushed by all this nonsense, she's done with it, she's sick of it, and she wants everything out of the garage. It's just too much to have this hellscape down here. So Jack, he feels very threatened about this, saying, "You're the one who wanted the children to sleep inside of the house." Yep, proper response. Asking for death, asking for your throat to be slit while you sleep. Either way, Duncan goes to school and everybody's praising him for being really good at the game until it's revealed to be Kimberly. And then the other team that they're going against, that they're going to be playing against in a video game tournament, show up, and it's a bunch of grown men with their babies, and they're saying how they just are going to destroy them. I don't know, just something about a bunch of grown men with their toddlers rolling up to the high school to harass a bunch of high schoolers just seems a little bit odd to me, but hey, I could look past it, I guess. So Duncan has to try to find a way to make everybody think that he's awesome, that he's cool. At the same time, Jack has to try to get rid of all of his stuff, which leads to some interesting jokes. Some of them are kind of all over the place. I did thoroughly enjoy this one joke where Annie finds a Confederate flag and is like, what about this? What about the Confederate flag? And Jack's response is just, you know, I mean, kind of the only response you could give to still owning a Confederate flag in your house.
It's a symbol for racism and offensive to every decent human being.
I know, but Skinner!
Yeah, I enjoyed that quite thoroughly. I thought that was pretty good. And so then Duncan, he wants to betray Kimberly, so he goes to the group of dads, and their introduction is very weird. I didn't like this. I don't like that he would ever be okay with showing his child this and making his child do this. Duncan walks up and he's like, "Wait, bro, I need to see if I can trust you. Come on, Junior, give him a sniff." And so Duncan sticks his hand out and the baby gives a big old whiff, a big old... Oh yeah, he's clean.
Go on.
What the fuck? Who's out here training the baby to give a sniff of acceptance? I did not like that one bit, but he eventually joins their team and comes up with a plan to brutally embarrass Kimberly by showing off all of her romantic pictures with the dude that she likes to embarrass her and get her to lose the match. And during the match, she eventually realizes how harsh this is and that he loves his sister, and they bonded over embarrassment of their parents, so he can't go through with it. And he accidentally sends it onto the screen anyway, and so he has to say something so embarrassing that nobody will focus on Kimberly's embarrassment being a big older brother, and he decides to say, "I fantasize about my sister." You couldn't think of anything else? Like, really? Anything else? Like, there's so many other things that are so embarrassing. Like, I stick my hand inside of my own ass. I think the green M&M is very attractive. I need the green M&M in my life. You could have said anything other than, "I fantasize about my sister," who is not only, like, 4 years younger than you, but, like, come on. Like, you could have just said that you wanted to get up all in that green M&M, and everybody would have been like, ugh. Or maybe everybody would have started clapping because they're proud and everybody wants that green M&M, but I don't know. I don't know. That's pretty much the entire episode. The entire plot line with Jack in the garage wasn't that funny. It was just okay, where he keeps wanting to get rid of things, but he just can't. He can't go through with it. It's overall just a fine episode. Nothing too amazing, nothing too great. I guarantee that there's a lot better episodes than this. This was just the random episode, and I wanted to pick something from Season 1. I feel like once they were in Season 2 and Season 3, they were making a lot better episodes. So, overall, pretty decent. If I was rated 1 through 10, I would probably give it a solid 6. 6 out of 10. It was pretty good. I liked it. To be honest, I really did like Duncanville, and I think I'm actually going to go and watch more of this show on my own, because it was actually really fun. I think the main thing that gets me to like this show, compared to a bunch of other shows that I watch, is that the characters are likable. I feel like that's a really common theme with a lot of adult animated shows that I usually like nowadays, like Smiling Friends, for example. I love all of the characters within that show, and I feel like that's why it's so great. Every character is entertaining. And here, they do that. They make sure that every character is entertaining in their own way, whether it's Duncan's embarrassment, Jing's childlike wonder, Jack just being a nonchalant, beloved father. I think it works very well when all of your characters are just enjoyable. I feel like a lot of shows nowadays, especially in adult animation, they focus on making everything cynical. They focus on making a character either pathetic, a character mean-spirited, a character who's just like, "Oh, I need to drink all my problems away. Oh, yeah." It's just not that entertaining all the time, because I've seen that in so many different forms of media where the main character just hates his life. Sometimes, when I want to let loose and I want to enjoy myself, I want to watch something where the characters are fun and a little bit whimsical, and I can just laugh at them having a good, heartfelt time. I feel like that makes it a lot more enjoyable, and I feel like that is truly what works for this show. So, thank you guys so much for watching. Really hope you enjoyed this video. Once again, if you stay along all the way to the end of the video for my end of video monologues, I love ya. Here you go. Mwah. Just a big old smooch for ya. Not in a parasocial way. Yeah, don't find me. I don't actually love you. I love you through the screen, but I don't actually want to do dirty, nasty things to you. Unless you earn it, of course. Either way, hope you guys are doing well. Make sure you're eating, drinking water, taking care of yourself. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.